What's up, everyone? You're listening to the InCamp Podcast. I'm your host, Aaron Hepler. This is the show where we talk all hunting, all fishing, all the hard-earned lessons that keep us coming back season after season. InCamp is not a how-to or strategy podcast. It is intertwined in the storytelling and how each guest has built their career in the outdoors. So I hope you enjoy this episode. We are talking today with a very special guest, Mr. Nick Lindner. And I won't lie, I got all befuddled in the beginning of this episode and said his name completely wrong. And he didn't even correct me. And I didn't even notice. I normally notice. I'm sorry, Nick. Anyway, this was a really, really fun episode because this guy is an expert in all things hard water when it comes to cold water species, multi-species, how to get it done, how to have fun, what InCamp is all about in the Lindner family. I really hope you enjoy this episode with Nick. You have to check out his YouTube content. I know we've had a previous guest on, TJ Erickson. Check out their stuff that they do together. It's a lot of fun. They have some friendly competitions on the water that if you tune in and listen to this genuine human tell some stories, you're really going to enjoy this episode. I don't know how much ice fishing I'm going to get in. I'm going to have to travel north because my plans are getting thwarted by warm weather. I hope yours aren't, and you're getting over the line. So enjoy this. This is InCamp Podcast. How you doing, bud?
Good. I'm doing good. Yeah, just happy to be on. Glad you reached out and glad we could sit down and do it. So
yeah, so I had TJ Erickson on in like September, and he told me that he outfishes you on a regular basis. So
yeah, that's accurate. So
no.
Yeah, we've been doing some competition series. TJ is like one of the best humans you'll meet. One of the best
a good
people
guy.
you meet. Super great guy. Super good angler. He is like super ADD on the water. Like he works super hard. He doesn't ever sit still. So he works hard and finds them, and he's always thinking about it, and he's super wired. But last time we did a little competition series, I ended up beating him pretty bad. So
yeah. You guys do that walleye cup every year, right?
We've been trying to, yeah. We just kind of started it. So we've done 3 of them so far. And so we've done what do we do? We've done 2 open water ones and 1 on the ice.
Yeah.
So yeah, TJ's a savage. So he actually won 2 of the 3. I won 1 of them, and Brett McComas is still waiting for his first win. But we could do 10 of them, and he might win 8 of the next 10. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's any man's game for these. You know, it's just about going out and getting bites and stuff. So
it's a cool format. I've watched most of the episodes, and I've really enjoyed it. It's a good time, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it. No, it's fun to do, and it's one of those things too where it's like it doesn't get crazy views on YouTube for us. Like, I don't know if it's just the competition stuff. People are more looking for informational content and stuff like that. But it's like one of the funnest things we do all year. So I feel like we should do more of them for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it would be a good way. I mean, maybe saturating it is the way to get it going. Do you ever watch watch Fly versus Jerk? It's like a pike.
I watched it a little bit. Yeah. Yep.
That wasn't super popular when it started, and that, like, I love that show. I've been watching.
I didn't realize that it wasn't popular when it started because it's pretty enormous, isn't it?
Yeah, it is now. But I remember, like, I think if you watch some of the earliest episodes, when they go to their like their announcement for whoever's winning, because they don't have a weigh-in or whatever, there's like very few people in the room. It's like a pull down projector screen and a couple people, like, just having a good time. And that I love that format too.
Production value is crazy too, and obviously on the competition side, like 39 hours is sort of the North American OG.
Yeah.
as far as that. And then that crew has done a number of things, like the Outpost was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
A good, good series, and super, super entertaining to watch. And Jay Siemens does a crazy job. He's super talented.
Yeah.
But yeah, we wanted to do something that was different, like stick to walleyes. It's such a walleye culture up north,
Yeah.
and they're just such a fun species. I mean, to me, in a lot of ways, they're almost like, I know bass fishing gets, a lot of the glory in the tournament world. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and like rightfully so, they got some awesome stuff going on. And I've done a lot of bass fishing, in tournaments and stuff like that. But uh, walleye is almost like a perfect it's almost like a perfect tournament species in a lot of ways, because they are really challenging to catch. You can get them a bunch of different ways.
Yeah.
Um, that's what I like about walleyes, is how challenging they are. And I feel like that's probably a big reason why a lot of people watch the content, is because they're trying to figure out how to actually catch them.
Oh, for sure. Um, I've only ever caught, you're going to laugh at this. I've only ever caught one walleye, and it was like 8 inches long. So the lake that I live on is supposed to be a really good walleye lake. I do have a friend who's really figured out the ice thing. It's something that I've kind of like strived for, but I honestly haven't even really. I bought a boat 3 years ago. Like, I've always fished from like a little John boat or something like that. So I have a little Alumacraft with a 40 on it. And I've always done the thing where like I find buddies that have nice boats and I go fishing with the buddies.
Yeah,
And you were talking earlier about the Northeast being good fishing, and that New York is fantastic, like the St. Lawrence River. And, I'm only 4 hours from a lot of the Finger Lakes and that kind of thing. So doing a lot of stuff up there. But um, this year was kind of special because our lake was about 7 feet lower than it always was, or always is in the spring. And you could see almost 30 feet into so I'm like learning how to use some electronics and that kind of thing, but it was so easy to pair it because I could see the crappies in 20 feet of water. So I really learned how to like hone in, and we were catching, I mean, the average crappie we were catching was about 14 inches. And I think we caught 200 or 250 crappies in like 4 days.
wow.
So it was a lot of fun because like that's a lot of big crappies, but it's just something, I've, I've kind of grown up doing a little bit of ice fishing. It was better when I was younger because we got more ice. Now we usually get ice. It's in mid-January and it lasts till March,
Yeah.
But you're in the right place for that, man. You're already a couple weeks in, right?
Yeah. I mean, you could argue that our buddies to the north are in the right place, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Buddies up in Canada. Yeah. So, but yeah, we're in a pretty good spot realistically. I mean, ultimately, so I live in central Minnesota, and there is a lot of water, but there is a crazy amount of fishing pressure too.
Yeah.
So, like 14-inch crappies, they don't make it to that size very often around here. There's a lot of harvesting happening, and just a lot of people out fishing and targeting all kinds of fish, whether it's crappies or walleyes or bluegills or any of the above. So yeah, so that being said, like, yeah, we have some ice. We obviously get ice earlier than like your neck of the woods for sure. A lot of the Northeast kind of in general. And actually, in Minnesota here, like we end up getting ice like before even Wisconsin a lot of the times too.
Right.
So like I know they've been fighting with ice conditions a little bit this year, and like this year it's been super good for us with just the consistently cold temperatures. So yeah, but it's one of those things too where the bite can get really tough um pretty quick. Like December, well, we should have ice basically all of December, and the bite should be pretty good for most species. But like as we get into January, like that walleye bite is going to slow down a lot for sure. And I do think some of like the fringe ice places, like January, February, the bite can still be pretty good because, um, there's less ice and snow blocking some of the sunlight coming in. So, there's just more oxygen in the system. And if it is a little bit warmer, if it's more of a fringe ice place, you might get snow and then have some of that snow melt, which kind of reoxygenates the lake.
Right.
And yeah, like some of the last couple of years, we've had just some of the best ice fishing we've ever had,
Oh, that's awesome.
because we had ice, right? We had
Yeah.
ice that you could get out on, but the temperatures were such that like it would rain some days, or like it would snow and then the snow would melt. So we were just constantly reoxygenating the lake.
Yeah.
So like the bite was crazy good. Like a couple of years ago, the bite was crazy good in February. It was like first ice bite in the
Okay.
middle of winter. So uh whatever. There's some positives and benefits. And also you guys can get out in the boat longer, so that's cool too. So
Yeah. Well, I always have these aspirations of, pike fishing in October, but then I'm in a deer stand. So,
yeah, right. Right.
it's kind of like pick your battles. I ended up I left it. Sometimes I winterize my boat in the middle of October because I just know I'm not going to go. And this year I'm like, I'm leaving it open until I think I winterized it in mid-November this year because I was like, but I ended up deer hunting so much. So
Yeah, that's super understandable. I do the same thing. I have big fall aspirations and I get out some, but I end up like modding out my ice fishing gear or traveling. Like maybe it'd be the last perfect, late fall week or so to get out and target, something. But then I end up driving up to Canada to get on early ice or something. So I always find ways to cut that fall season a little bit short.
yeah, for sure. So I think what we're going to end up talking about, mostly like, fishing is kind of a how-to thing. And I think you kind of nailed it when you said people are looking for that a lot. But I do want to mix in a lot of good stories too, because I like fishing stories, even though the fish usually, get a little bigger as the story ages. But
You were telling me about all those 14-inch crappies.
yeah.
I believe you. I believe you. I'm just kidding.
No, we caught a lot. I always fish for bass. Like that's really what I target. But we caught a few crappies a few years ago, and I'm like, I'm just gonna figure this out. And it wasn't that hard, but it was a lot of fun, man.
Do you know who Joe Holland is?
I don't.
Okay, so he lives up in Maine and
Okay.
he does YouTube as well. He does some fishing, he does some trapping, stuff like that. And yeah, some woodwork stuff. He built a cabin. Anyway, he's sort of just a burly outdoorsman type guy from Maine. And he's told me about his crappie fishing up there, and it is like nuts. It
Yeah.
is absolutely nuts. It's like that. It's like, wow, another 14-inch crappie. That's
Yeah.
super normal. Like,
Well, it's kind of cool because what really helps this is it's a little private lake, like
mhm.
not a lot of people, most of the people that are on the lake aren't, and even we caught like 250. We kept maybe 50 or 60 crappies out of all those, but we would see rafts of these things and like, 100 to 300 fish on a little pile of, Christmas trees or whatever,
Yeah.
But what is, when you're ice fishing, I guess we can kind of get the nerdy stuff out of the way. What are you doing to stay safe? Like, how are you checking the ice for thickness? How do you know it's ready? What kind of gear are you using to make sure you stay safe on the ice?
I mean, if there's people out there, I just assume the whole lake is safe. That's how I do it.
So you let other people guinea pig it.
No. So yeah, I mean, early on in the season, um, uh, I would say by far, there's like two items that are by far the most important. So I'd say a spud bar is one of them. So it's basically just like a giant ice pick where
Like a
you can,
mall. Yeah.
yeah, maul it on the ice and see what you got. So that's kind of like a tool that you get better with as well. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so, uh, you kind of figure out based on how hard you hit, if it goes through or if it takes 2 or 3 hits to go through, you kind of learn what that means for ice thickness. Um, and then the other one that I would say is very critically important is basically, what do you call them? It's basically the spikes you put around your neck
Yeah.
so you can climb your way out of the ice if you do fall through the ice. Because believe it or not, if ice breaks and it gets wet, it can be really, really slippery. So
Right.
you may have noticed that before. So
Just once or twice.
yeah, so those are like the very two most important items, I would say. And then beyond that, like a float suit would be something that could be beneficial as well, or some sort of flotation.
Mm.
But yeah, that's that. And then from there, you're sort of just determining what is safe ice for you.
Mm-hmm.
Some people walk out on a couple inches. I find that to be a little edgy. But you start getting to 3 or 4, and then you're starting to get something that's a little bit more solid. But then if you're finding 3 or 4 as you get out there, like obviously, there might be 1 inch.
Yeah, it could be thinner as you go.
So you're kind of determining, as you go out, sort of what you have. And a lot of times you can see the changes in the ice. So you can watch the cracks as you're coming out and stuff like that. Or
Mm-hmm.
see one area, you can tell like, oh, this area froze later, just by looking at it. But then a lot of times there's snow. So and it'll cover it so you can't see anything. You can't read the ice at all. So, uh, it's always good, especially early, to just take your time getting out there. So plan ahead so you can get out there earlier so it doesn't hurt you to, spend a little time working your way out on the ice.
Yeah, good plan there. So if you were telling somebody, if you're saying, oh, you're getting your start in ice fishing, you have the right safety gear, but maybe the person wants to keep it simple to start. What are you telling somebody? I think the most important thing to start with is a sled so you can fill it with everything, right? But
Sure. Yeah.
what are you telling them to start their basic tackle?
Okay. So yeah, like step number one, you got to get through you got to get through the ice. So some sort of augering system, whether it's a cheap hand auger you found on, at a garage sale or something, or it's basically like an attachment you can put on a power drill,
Mm-hmm.
or if you want to get a full size auger, you can do that. It just depends on what you want to do, what you want to try and how thrifty you want to try and get. Actually, early on in the season, you can take that spud bar, and when there's still 4 or 5 inches of ice, you can actually spud a hole through the ice. So you can just kind of chisel a hole to fish through early ice if you're really trying to keep costs low. But yeah, something to get your gear out with you. Sled, oftentimes, sometimes you can just throw your stuff in a bucket and just
Mm-hmm.
carry the bucket out there, depending on how light you pack. But from there, I mean, once you got a hole in the ice and you got out to the ice, I mean, there are a lot of variables for sure. So you can go real crazy. You can keep it real simple. If you're just starting out and you want to keep it super, super simple, best piece of advice would just be, getting a handful of tip ups and just putting a little hook underneath it and, you know, putting a minnow on there. I guess it depends on what you're chasing,
Yeah, sure.
whatever. But tip ups are by far the simplest. You really don't need sonar or anything like that. If you just have, just a normal tip up set up with like a hook and some weights pinched up to the above it, a foot or two above it, you can just drop it till it hits the ground and then pull it up a few more inches and set your tip up, and the flag will pop up when something bites it.
Yeah.
Uh, but from there, you can get into jigging. Jigging is a whole nother thing. Like, obviously, you would benefit from having sonar when you're jigging. But yeah, beyond that, you can sight fish. Look down the hole if you're fishing up in shallow water. There's a bunch of stuff.
So that would be like kind of an upgrade, but when you're talking about jigging, you said that you're going to want to probably run sonar, and it's probably um, something I'd like to start doing when I'm ice fishing, because most of the time I'm like drilling a couple holes, jigging, and just putting out tip ups just to have a good time with people. But
Yeah.
I'm learning from my other buddy who does it that he's like, like I said, he's kind of got the lake figured out, but he's using sonar. When you're telling somebody, hey, maybe you want to upgrade your setup, if you want to go with something basic to advanced, what are you kind of looking for when it comes to sonar, and how are you setting it up?
Yeah. So yeah, everybody's got that one diehard buddy who has some crazy, crazy fishing setups,
Yeah.
the guy who gets to fish more than just on the weekend. But yeah, so the sonar thing is so wide reaching, right? So you can have just like a little flasher. So if you like go online and look up what a flasher is, basically there's like a little circle and you can see where your jig is, and you can
Yep.
see if the fish comes right underneath your hole. And you can find flashers. You can buy them, actually the smallest, cheapest ones, you can buy them at a pretty reasonable price. But if you go on Marketplace, Facebook Marketplace or whatever, like you can find used ones, you can probably get into something relatively cheap, 100
Mm-hmm.
bucks or whatever. Um, and then like all the way up to, I have like my sonar unit's like $5,000. So
Right.
like, and that's forward facing sonar where you can point it around and look, in whatever direction. And like I've got the fancy screen, so it's higher resolution, and then it also has, you have to get the fancy screen to have the HDMI port in the back so you can record it, so I can
Yeah.
put it on YouTube and stuff like that, so
Yeah.
people can see it on my videos. So there's like a super, super wide range of what you can get into, anywhere from like maybe $100 all the way up to, thousands of dollars. So just depends on how much money you got and how committed you want to get into the whole thing.
Sure. Well, I mean, that's like any sport in the outdoors, but how how much do you think your live scope has taught you about fish, to the point where if you went to, let's say you went to a friendly competition, and you've used that thing for a long time, and now they say no electronics, is it helping you learn fish that well that you've learned their habits and where they might prefer to be and that kind of thing?
1,000%. Yeah. That's like a big value of it, right? So, there's a lot of people that like I've got a lot of people that I know where it's like they probably won't really ever invest in forward facing.
Uh-huh.
It might just be too expensive, or maybe in 5 years, the used market will get more robust as this technology just gets, older and older. But anyway, so they can't quite justify it or whatever. So there's a lot of people who, just respectfully don't have the technology. And then there's other people who are like, oh, I can't afford it. So, you know, everyone who has this is, cheating or whatever. Like, so there's like this wide range. So one comment like you'll see from maybe people who are anti technology or whatever is
Uh-huh.
like, I'd love to see you do this without technology, or do this the simple, or the old way or whatever. And the thing is like, knowing what we know by using the sonar, like you learn so much about how the fish move, where the fish set up. Um, I can absolutely take that knowledge and catch way more fish than even before
Sure.
without the technology, because you learn, you can like find fish quicker and kind of like learn patterns and stuff so much faster. And just the way you can see the fish set up, it's like, oh, well, these fish are setting up, they're piling up on this weed edge. And it's like, we knew fish were using weed edges, but what we didn't know is that there were basically zero fish. Like in the summer for walleyes, it's like we didn't know that there
Right.
were basically zero fish anywhere on the weed edge except for the places where they're piled up on the weed edges.
Right. Right.
Uh, Stuff like that. So you just kind of you sort of learn and understand what's happening down there. and you learn that the walleyes aren't sitting on the bottom in the summer, like
Right.
even if they're not suspended up in the column, like they're still 4 feet off the bottom in 25 feet of water. Like
Right.
you think they're down on the bottom. So there's all these things we thought that we knew, and we fished a certain way based on what we thought we knew. And turns out like a lot of that stuff isn't true. Um, so yeah, like learned so much that I can use for sure. I could fish this whole winter and not use forward facing and catch plenty of fish based on what I've learned.
Yeah.
So
And that's something that's really valuable. And I'm bringing this up to say, because it is kind of like a real controversial thing right now. Like everybody's, up in arms about technology in a lot of aspects. Like I've talked about this a couple times, like cell cams, forward facing sonar, e-bikes, like all the things that are coming out. And I keep telling people that are crapping on these things, like it's probably not going anywhere, and just complaining about it doesn't really help. The best thing to do is like you and TJ have displayed, is using it responsibly. Like I know for our the forward facing sonar, the big thing is muskies. People talk about muskies a lot.
yeah,
And they're really affected by it because you can hound one down every day and really, put a hurting on those fish compared to what we could do before. So using that technology responsibly is how you should teach somebody new using that technology, because like I said, it's not going anywhere. So if somebody knows how to handle the fish properly, not hound the fish, all the things that you should do to take care of the fish first. I mean, we all want to catch big ones, but then it's like you want the renewable resource. So I
yeah,
think that's so important. And I think what you guys do with it is great. So thank you for that. I think it's pretty cool.
yeah. I appreciate it. I think for sure some species are going to be more vulnerable to being able to use sonar in that way. So I think crappies is one of them, just the way they school up,
Mm-hmm.
suspended in basins and stuff like that. They can be a lot more vulnerable. And like crappies in a lot of cases are catch and keep type fish for most people.
Right.
So anything to speed the curve on that. I mean, we used to like not used to, I mean, like before forward facing, I mean, people would fish crappies out, in a lot of the lakes around where I live. Like I'd said earlier, like 14-inch crappie, like they don't make it that
No,
far.
they don't make them. They don't make them that big.
Like they can get that big if people won't eat them, but by the time they get 10, 11, 12 around here, word gets out, guys get out in the basin and they'll catch the fish. And they were doing that long before forward facing sonar. These fish are super easy to find and target in the basins in a lot of these lakes.
Right.
But that being said, walleyes on the other hand, like walleyes are super I don't know if smart is the right word, but they're very cautious, and they're a lot more finicky and they're harder to get. They're super they can be like super affected by fishing pressure and stuff like that.
Right.
And then on the other side, like you mentioned muskies, right? So muskies are the big apex predator and they don't hide in the weeds, like they don't hide down on the bottom. Like they're out there doing their thing. Like
Right.
they'll run on top of the weeds, they'll run the weed line, they'll run the big points, and they're like they're the king of the lake. So they're not afraid. Like they're not usually too afraid of your boat. Like they're just nothing's gonna eat me. I'm good,
Yeah.
And yeah, so what that makes them pretty easy to see on forward facing sonar because
Right.
walleye you might throw at it and it might look at your bait and then go away and then they just take off because they're like, I'm getting out of here. I remember when
Right.
I was a little walleye and I could get eaten by just about anything and there's
Yep.
muskies in this lake. They could eat me. I gotta go somewhere else. I gotta get away.
Yep.
And the muskies, they'll just sit there, they're like, I'm good,
Right.
So yeah, so there's different species that do different things and have different tendencies and whatever. So there's a lot of things to consider with the different species. Bass is another one. They're kind of like walleyes, right? Where there's a lot of them. They're super prolific and people mostly release bass, So I think, there's some species, I don't think it matters much at all. You know, are
Sure.
you going to catch more walleyes and bass with forward facing? Like, yeah, definitely. But are you going to hurt the population of walleye and bass with it? Like, I don't see that being an issue.
Right.
So, yeah, it all comes down to being responsible. And like, if you're musky fishing and you're using forward facing, some people might say you're a bad person. I don't think you're a bad person. Like, but you should, if you're going to catch and handle a number of muskies, you need to be extremely dialed and proficient with treating the fish with care because there's not that many of them in the lake. And if you
Right.
catch 2 or 3 of them in a day and you kill, 2 of them or 1 of them, that's some percentage of all of the muskies in that lake. So,
Yeah. Yeah. And if it's a big one, that's years and years
yeah.
of growth, which sucks. Which really sucks. Um, when or is there like a method to how you're choosing bait when you're ice fishing? Are you kind of like getting whatever's available, or is it species specific?
A lot of it is availability where we live and actually probably where everyone lives because all the different states and provinces have their own issues or regulations or whatever as far as getting and having bait. So, um, like for instance, we go to like North Dakota and you can only get fatheads there, not
Right.
because they can grow other, minnows, but like that's like what you're allowed to use.
Right.
And then there'll be places we'll go where like you can't even use live bait at all. Some of the places up in Canada, you have to use live bait and pinched barbs and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys probably have some of your own regulations in some of the states in the Northeast or just availability of what you got. Like
Yeah.
the whole thing is like meat is good. Like fish like minnows. And like I definitely would recommend using minnows when you can get them. But like, yeah, fatheads are super readily available where we live. And all of our shops have them. So, yeah, I will use those more often than not for a lot of different things. But like more expensive minnows for ice fishing would be like shiners.
Yeah.
And those are worth their weight in gold. Like they are, walleyes really like them, bass really like them, the
Okay.
predator species really like them. Suckers are generally more readily available. Um, but I don't think they're nearly as good as shiners as far as getting bites from walleyes specifically.
Yeah.
And then like another one, like rainbows are really common up here. Like
Okay.
not as common as fatheads or whatever, but I would say rainbows for me, for the most part, are generally maybe not as good as a shiner, but probably better than a sucker for a lot of the walleye bites we have around here. They've got a lot of energy, they're good swimmers down there, so
Yeah.
they're pretty good bait.
Yeah. That's usually what we have available is shiners and when they run out, just fatheads. But
Hmm. So
I
that's
don't.
pretty similar to around here. A lot of the
Yeah.
places around here will have fatheads, and then they'll have like crappie minnows, which is basically just like a smaller, teeny little guys,
Yeah.
and then yeah, shiners if they got them. But I mean, it's like $1 a minnow, you
Yeah.
know.
They're. Yeah.
I
It's
don't know
like
what the prices are over there, but
that's
like
about right. That's about
okay,
right. It's like buying ammo. You
yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah. It could be like $14 for a dozen or
Yeah.
15 here.
Yeah.
So
And then like you can't. There is regulations here. Like you can't dump them down the hole. Like you can't
mhm.
just throw them into the lake or whatever. But
Yeah,
um,
and another one too is like if you're a fall musky angler and you want to use big suckers, those can be anywhere from $7 to $15, $16 per sucker.
right.
So things can get like pretty insane depending on what you're doing. And people will use those as like decoys for like spearing in the winter.
Sure.
So
We can't do that here. We can only have 10-inch holes.
yeah, sure. Just in general. Okay.
Yeah.
So even on like stock trout lake, you guys can cut a sight fishing hole or anything like
Yeah.
that.
Nope.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's one thing. Like we do have trout in this lake, but they're apparently pretty hard to catch through the ice for whatever reason. I don't know why, but they're pretty hard. Do you have a story of using a bait or lure that you caught something you didn't think you'd catch with it, like an unexpected species?
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I feel like it happens all the time, for sure. Like just random stuff. I guess one, not an ice fishing story, but the one thing that pops into my mind is this last summer. I was doing some like small lake exploration. So running to a bunch of different spots and, just using, survey data and like the Onyx app to just like find different lakes that might hold more fish and whatever.
Yeah.
And bigger fish. And so like a common pattern for big walleyes around Minnesota and a lot of places is just using forward facing sonar to look for like suspended marks. Because a lot of times those bigger walleyes will suspend like 10 feet down over 25 feet of water or something like that. And this one lake had some really good survey data, like should have some big fish in it, big walleyes in it. And I was just casting at these different suspended marks, and I didn't catch. And no, I shouldn't say that. I went up into the weeds and caught a couple kind of moderate sized walleyes later in the day. But the first few fish that I caught suspended, throwing like a jig and a night crawler at, were bullheads. Just catching bullheads suspended.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, right where the walleye should be suspending. Like.
Yeah.
So casting at some of those marks and just catching, and it was like a legitimate bullhead pattern.
That's pretty wild.
Yeah, I wasn't, whatever.
It's kind of a letdown when that comes up, though, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
I caught a channel, like a 24-inch channel on a flick shake drop shot one time.
Okay. Yeah.
And I thought it was a muskie because I was fishing for smallmouth on a local lake, and I thought, I mean, the rod was like way too bent for a bass, and I'm like, holy crap, whatever's on the other end of this is huge. And I get it at the side of the boat. I mean, the water visibility in this lake at that time of year is like 3 inches. It's so muddy.
Yeah.
And I got its head out of the water, and I'm like, what the heck, kind of bums you out when you catch a catfish and you weren't really expecting it. But
yeah, for sure. And that's another thing too. Guys will talk. I feel like everybody's got like some really good random catfish stories on ways they don't expect. Like,
yeah,
people think about catfish being like these like nose to the bottom, like using their barbels to just taste and feel everything and whatever. And they definitely do that. Like they'll eat stuff off the bottom, but they definitely will eat active baits for sure. Like I've caught them before. We don't have like a ton of I mean, we do have a ton of catfish, but a lot of the lakes I fish don't have catfish.
Right.
And but sometimes when I do fish some of them, like you'll catch them on a swim bait or a crankbait or something. So they'll totally eat like anything, like, and they'll go up and crack baits and stuff like that. So
yeah. So I've got two for you. One of my buddies, when he was a kid, his cousin put on a marshmallow and threw it over his shoulder and caught a 5-pound bass, like as soon as it hit the water. So that was one. The other one was one of my buddies that I had on this was drop shotting a Swedish fish and caught a 25-inch chain pickerel. I always get a kick out of stories like that, man. It's kind of funny.
Yeah. I do think if you wanted to, for bass and pike specifically, or pickerel, like they are just aggressive and pretty stupid.
Yeah.
And like, obviously you can have days where they're hard, and if you're fishing, it's nothing against the derby guys. I'm not saying all bass are easy, whatever. Like, because when you're competing against other people, you got to catch them better than everyone else, even if they're biting.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, you could throw. I mean, I've heard stories of guys throwing Twizzler, wacky ring and a Twizzler, or any of the above. Like, none of that surprises me at all. Marshmallows or any of it.
Yeah, it always cracks me up, when I hear stories like that. It's pretty fun. If you're jigging What's your go-to for a jigging rig? Are you using just like the like a Rapala, whatever they call? I can't even remember what they're called right now, but they're, the jig with the
The jig and wrap stuff,
yeah,
or
the jigging wraps, yeah.
yeah. So on a lot of our lakes, baits like that are viable. Same with like rattle baits and stuff like that. You can definitely run them and get some bites. Like it can work, but for the most part, like if I'm targeting walleye and stuff around home, you need to be a little bit more finesse than that a lot of times.
Okay.
So like smaller spoons end up being a go-to. So just like a classic is just like an 1/8 ounce buckshot is going to be, killer. But like 1/8 ounce, there's this newer spoon too. It's called the thumper spoon. So it's like it's got a little blade on it, but it's basically like a thin
Okay.
stamp fluttering spoon. And that's a go-to for me in a lot of cases. Like the last 2 years, I've been using that spoon more than anything. So yeah, metallic, for a little flash, or you can get like a glow color for, lower light situations. But that's going to be my go-to for like a lot of stuff around home, because walleyes like it a little bit more finesse, a little bit more of like a smaller spoon or something like that, a little horizontal presentation.
Uh-huh.
And then a lot of times I'll try and, if I'm marking a fish on my sonar, like I'll try and work that fish upwards because they like to feed upwards. You kind of take it away from them.
Right.
And when you have like a horizontal spoon profile like that and you work it upwards, like I'll put like a minnow head on the bottom a lot of times.
Okay.
And if they're coming up for that bait like this, I mean, that's a really small profile because they don't see the whole like length of the spoon, you know?
Right.
So
Right.
it's like a small little bite-sized thing as they come up, just with their field of view of how they see it.
Right.
Um, and the cool thing about that bait is you can set up in an area, where fish are moving through and you can catch those walleyes, but it's also like a small enough presentation for like perch and crappies and stuff like that. So it's
Oh,
just
that's
kind of
cool.
like 1/8 ounce spoon is a universal fish catcher, on for walleyes, panfish, perch, crappie, whatever, and pike and all that. But, around where I live, the lakes that you live on and fish on, I can go up into Canada and catch them on that. I can go down to, Illinois and catch them on that. Like just a universal fish catcher wherever you go, whether the bite is easy or hard.
Yeah, that's a good suggestion. I was always like, I'm always just using like little 16th ounce jig heads or whatever, or like the jigging wraps. So
Yep.
that's a good suggestion, is using the spoon.
Yeah. And that stuff works great too, as well, So it all
Yeah.
just,
I guess it depends on how the bite is too, like
yeah.
what's happening underneath that ice. If you're targeting a species, like if you are specifically targeting walleye, are you choosing a place that you think there's just a whole bunch of walleye staging, or are you setting up for a multi-species day? What kind of thing are you doing there?
Yeah. Yep.
Yep.
No, either or, Yeah,
Yeah.
it just depends on what I wanna do that day. So, uh, a lot of times if I'm specifically targeting walleyes, I'll try and go places where I feel like there's gonna be primarily walleyes using it. So a lot of times that's a break line or something like that, and a lot of our lakes are really clear, and with walleyes, like, you might just have, like, this, we call it the flash bite.
Uh-huh.
But basically, like, the sun is setting and, like, it's right around the time it's about to hit the horizon, like, you have, like, this half hour or 45 minutes when, like, activity is high.
Right.
And on our bodies of water that are clear, especially, I mean, that's really, it matters a lot for sure.
Sure.
And same thing in the morning, right? So right as that sun is just starting to, like, hit the horizon on the way up. So, on a lot of like bodies of water like that, like we'll set up for walleyes and we'll set up on a break line, or we'll set up on a point or an inside corner or maybe a weed edge or something like that. And we'll make sure everything's ready. We got our set lines, we got our tip ups and all that ready to go. And then we'll have our jigging rods kind of ready, and we're just making sure that we're ready and we're not drilling holes during that 30, 45-minute window. We want to be quiet. We want to be dialed in and ready to go before we get to that point. So a lot of times that's what we'll do. But, yesterday I was out on Mille Lacs, which is a lake close to my house here in Minnesota.
I want to
And
go there so bad.
it's pretty cool. Yeah. I mean, it can be real challenging,
Yeah.
not better than, it's not better than Canada, but it's good. Like it's pretty good for my area. And, like we were set up in an area where there's walleyes swimming around. We were on a, big flat, right? We weren't on a hard break. We weren't on like a certain transition. Like we are in an area where fish are just kind of cruising around. And, so you can pick up walleyes. We caught walleyes. We caught perch. The perch are just kind of cruising around as well.
Yeah.
And they're bigger perch. There's a good crop of like nice perch in Mille Lacs right now. So you're catching walleyes, jumbo perch, and we're catching, some Cisco and stuff like that and pike. But and in that case, like Mille Lacs is it's kind of like an interesting lake because it is really clear, but you can get walleyes during the day, somewhat consistently if the bite's decent.
Oh, cool.
Which is not usually the case around home on a lot of our other lakes. But Mille Lacs is a pretty good lake, so we can get them during the day. So we kind of set up in an area all day, and the fish were just kind of cruising through the area, and you'd kind of pluck some of them here and there when they'd come through. So it's so you can do both. You can set up in areas where there's both, and sometimes like we'll set up on like shallower weed line areas where it's like not 8-9 feet of water, something like that.
Yeah, that's shallow.
And yeah, so right on a weed line, and we might have some set lines up in the weeds. We might have one off if we got a little group of guys, and we can use a few lines. And it might be one of those things where we're catching some bass, we're catching some pike, maybe a stray crappie, some bluegills or whatever throughout the day. And then once the sun starts to get low, boom, we catch the first walleye, and it's like, ooh, the walleyes are starting to come through now. So then you catch, 2 or 3 walleyes or whatever, and then that's kind of fun. And then, you kind of look over and the crappies are starting to school up in the evening, and then you jump over to the crappies, for a couple hours in the night, and then you pack it up and go home. So
that's awesome.
That's a cool type of thing that you can do on a lot of lakes around here and probably around where you live too. So
if you're going out, I mean, I know you're using sonar most of the time, but if somebody was to go out without sonar, are you using your tip ups to target different depths to figure out where they're biting to start the day out?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, a lot of times what we'll do is we can only use 2 lines here in Minnesota. So if you're going out solo, it kind of is what it is. You jig in one spot and you have your set line in another spot. But if you got
can only use 2?
Only 2.
Oh, that sucks. You can use 10 here. Or 5 per person. It's 5 per person.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, as soon as you get past like 3 or so, I mean, I feel like the sky's the limit. I mean, that's a lot of tip ups and a lot of, a lot of data you can put together. But yeah, I mean, it's just, if you're where you're at and you can use 5 and maybe you're out with one other buddy, I mean, that's basically unlimited lines as far as, you're not going to, you might not even set up 10,
No, that's like a lot to manage if it's just 2 of you.
Yeah. So in that case, like, yeah, but if I'm fishing out in Minnesota and we can use 2, and let's say I got 2 other buddies, we got 6 lines, like, yeah, we'll probably, we'll set up jigging. Maybe a couple of us will jig in different depths, but then we'll have set lines set up shallow or deep, or, maybe there's weeds close by. We'll have a set line right on the weed line. And then maybe we'll have another one like up in the weeds a little bit, like suspended up over the top of the weeds.
Okay.
So yeah, like it's definitely a tattletale, tool that you can use to figure out where the fish are, with or without sonar, and in a lot of cases, with how pressured the fish can be around here, like in a lot of cases, you might just want to have sonar, or excuse me, you might just want to have set lines, and you might need to get away from them,
Yeah.
because the fish can be really finicky, and there'll be some bites where it's like every bite is on like flags basically on those set lines.
Yeah.
And you don't even mark anything with your sonar,
Yeah.
So, yeah, if I was out there and I didn't have sonar, my recommendation would be set it up in different depths or different scenarios, whether that's by the weeds, away from the weeds, in the weeds, by
So
the
not
rock.
necessarily like a strategic pattern, like a T or every 10 feet or anything like that. Just kind of like
Well, you want
use
them
your,
spread out enough that you're covering a little bit of ground as well.
yeah,
And you might be dialed enough that, man, every time we go out here, all the fish are right on the weed line. So we're just going to set a line of them on the weed line, and maybe one or two of them out or something, just in case there's something out there.
right.
So yeah, I would say strategically, I'm trying to figure out exactly what they're using, with them, and then
Yeah.
go from there, sort of. And you can move them, you can
Yeah,
drill
sure.
holes, and you're finding all the fish are up shallow. It's like, well, we're moving everything up shallow.
Yeah,
You
for
know,
sure. For sure. Um, what's something that you do outside of fishing that keeps your mind off fishing but makes you a better angler?
well, I'm married with kids, so it's pretty much all like fishing and work stuff, and then just hanging out with the family. So
Yeah. How many kids do you have?
I got 2 kids,
Nice.
and they're getting kind of old now, 13 and 9.
Nice.
So we'll run around and do whatever they want to do, and hang out.
Do they like to fish with you?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
Nice.
to some degree for sure. Yeah. So a
I
lot of
have,
times summer we'll bass fish and throw Ned rigs around and catch bass and
yeah,
a few crappies. And in the winter I'll try and get them on a couple underwater camera
that's
type
cool.
days where we're set up in the weeds and just seeing stuff swim through.
Yeah. I have a daughter, she's 11, and she's not into the hunting scene, but she does like to fish every now and then.
Sure.
But she's like, she loves to go on the boat, but she would prefer to fish from a dock. So she likes to dock. We have a couple docking areas here. She
My
likes to,
daughter's the same way. It's actually funny you say that.
yeah, it's like, I don't know what it is. She just likes to run around the docks and cast in
Yeah.
between the boats and stuff. But um, what about a fishing tradition that maybe your family has done for ice or something that you just don't ever see going away for you?
That's a good one. I don't know that I've got any on the ice side.
Could
I
be
think,
just fishing in general.
yeah, I would say like open water. One thing that we do a lot, and it's sort of a tradition, is just kind of fall musky fishing. Like, I feel
Yeah.
like dad always makes it a point to get out there, and there'll be days where he'll take one of like my mom's brothers or something, or like I'll go out with him, or my mom will go out or whatever. And it's a lot of sucker dragging and stuff like that. But I feel like that's a tradition that we'll just always have. It's just like getting out with dad musky fishing in fall and just dragging some suckers. And it's cool too
Yeah.
because he's super diehard, and it's a diehard thing to do, right? Is chase muskies in fall. Like that's a
Yeah.
diehard thing to do. But it's one of those things where, a lot of the year he does like TV shows and stuff like that. So he's
Yep.
running around trying to film shows, and he's traveling to Canada and the Dakotas and Wisconsin and all over and doing all that.
Mm-hmm.
And that starts early. That starts with spring fishing, all the way through. But then like in the fall, he'll be like, yeah, like let's bring relatives out, let's bring, mom out, and let's bring all, and just kind of let's just go out and try and stick a few big fish. And it's like cool for people that don't fish a lot to
Yeah.
catch a big giant muskie that you have to hold like this.
Yeah. Yeah. That is cool.
So I think that's a tradition we'll probably always do, just because it's the end of the year. We're done with all of our work stuff for the most part. We're just waiting for ice, and so we get to go do that. So
You ever have those flashbacks where the weather starts changing to that time of year and you have that tradition in your family? The weather starts changing to that and you kind of like, you start having flashbacks just from feeling the weather change like that.
Yeah, for sure. No,
I get that all the time, whether it's bow hunting or I used to I used to go to Canada with a buddy a lot in like southeastern Ontario, and every year you get the like right wind and like the right
Yeah.
temperature, and I'm like, oh, I could fish in Canada right now, you know.
Yeah.
It's always a cool feeling.
I feel like you get to fall and like the water's still kind of warm and then the air temperatures are like 29 or something in the morning. And then when that happens, like the lakes will start to like whatever, not
Yeah,
fog, but mist or whatever.
yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
and just, yeah, the cold water or the cold air hitting the warmer water. I feel like once that happens, like you start to get the nostalgic like fall
yeah.
feel. And then you start thinking about fishing for big, fat smallmouth and like fall muskies and stuff like
Hmm.
that.
For sure. All right, man. What was your most epic day on the ice that you
Oh,
can remember?
uh, man, I want to say, I don't know. There's been a lot of cool stuff, and just like a few random memories that come to mind is like we went and stayed out of a wheelhouse on Lake Winnipeg up in
Oh,
Canada,
cool.
which was just really neat. Like that's kind of sort of a unique opportunity. They're getting more and more wheelhouses up there every year,
Uh-huh.
but around home, wheelhouses are normal. So like basically big fancy fish houses where you drive them out with a truck. You can drive them down the road, kind of.
Yeah.
And we were getting into we were just like packing our gear into the house. Like we had just got out there. We just drove out there.
Yeah.
I was fishing with Brett McComas and he hadn't even got a line in the water. He had more gear than me, so it took him longer to get his stuff in. So I just set up a GoPro and started jigging, while he was still bringing his gear in. And it was like 3 minutes into jigging, and a big walleye came through and plunked my rattle bait. And it ended up being an 11.5 pound walleye.
Oh, wow.
Giant. Like it was 30 inches around Minnesota. Like that's usually an 8 pound fish, but
Yeah.
when you're up in Canada or up on Lake Winnipeg, like all bets are off. So that one was, we weighed it and it was 11.5 pounds.
Wow.
And so that was cool. And then we proceeded to, cream them out of a wheelhouse, not even running and gunning.
That's so cool.
So that's probably the coolest bite, I would say, like one of the craziest, not even days, but couple days on the ice. And we wouldn't catch like anything during the day. And it was nasty conditions. So we're just hanging out in the house, like messing with our underwater cameras and gear and like
Yeah.
maybe even doing a little bit of work. And then like the sun would start to come down a little bit, maybe 3 o'clock, and then things would start to fire up. And then you're just catching walleyes, big walleyes until like 11 p.m. or something.
Oh, man, that's cool.
So that one was cool. And then another one that comes to mind too is I was up on Lake Athapap, which is
Uh-huh.
up in Canada, chasing lake trout. And like it was really cold. Conditions were not great. The bite wasn't incredible. But one of the days a lot of times up there, like they'll just set up a house and kind of wait them out because they got set lines with big Cisco's and stuff like that. And usually the
Yeah.
big fish will eat those set lines usually.
Uh-huh.
Um, so like a lot of times when we fish lake trout for on like Lake of the Woods and stuff like that, it's really a running and gunning thing. Like we're covering a lot of water, fishing a bunch of spots.
Right.
But up there they sit more. So I set up the tent, got everything ready, and drilled my holes and like must have caught like 25 lake trout just sitting in that house. And none of them were like giant, but they were just like a bunch of like good ones, a
That's
bunch of
cool.
like 10 pounders. And it was crazy. Like when we were set up I was set up in like 100 feet of water and they were all coming in like on the top 20 feet.
Oh,
So
that's cool.
they're just all right underneath the house. And so that was like one of the cooler bites I've been on too, where it was just like nonstop lake trout action, which
I
is
mean,
like
yeah.
usually you have to work real hard and you get like 5, 6 of them in a day or something on like a solid bite.
Yeah. That's cool, man. I've never caught a lake trout. I think my biggest trout was like probably a 19-inch stocky or something, you know. Um, it's always fun, man. It's always fun to have the kids out. Like, people's family comes over to my family's house and we all do the opening day of trout or whatever, but it's all stocked fish, but
Yeah.
still fun.
Agreed.
Nick, it's been a pleasure talking to you, man. I really appreciate the time you took to come on here and talk to me a little bit about fishing, but where can people find you at, man?
Yeah, no, definitely. I appreciate you having me on too as well. So yeah, if you just type Nick Lindner into anywhere, like I'll probably just pop up with some random fishing content, Facebook, Instagram, wherever, YouTube. But I would say like the majority of the content that I put the most time into is on YouTube. So
Cool.
If you like watching longer form fishing related content, that's where you can check it out.
It's awesome stuff too, man. I love watching your stuff. So the links for your YouTube channel will be in the show notes so that the listeners can find it there. But dude, thanks again. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, buddy. Well, that's a wrap in camp. Thanks again so much for listening to Nick. Like I said in the beginning, check out his YouTube channel. It is incredible information. You're going to learn a lot from Nick. And he puts a lot of effort into making sure that you guys get a really good education on fishing on his YouTube channel. I will add his links in the show notes. If you could, please leave me a review and a rating on Apple or Spotify or wherever you get this podcast. I would so much appreciate it. It really helps the show reach more ears. And I like to get to hear from you too. So drop a comment. I'll do my best to reply. If you want, you can DM me on Instagram. It's InCamp_podcast. I'm pretty responsive on there. You can reach at me at InCampPodcast@gmail.com if you have any topics or suggested things that you would like to hear. Thanks again so much for taking the time out of your week to listen week after week. I so much appreciate you. God bless you. This is InCamp Podcast.